All right, guys, you know the promo code? Give me the promo code.
Dangle.
Yeah, that's right.
Boom.
Steve, where the hell are you on this?
Yeah, what are you doing?
You're eating.
My bad. I thought.
It's Manscaped.
Sorry.
You're not supposed to eat during Manscaped, man. Come on. 20% off, free shipping for the holidays. Enjoy. Let's start the show.
The Steve Dangle Podcast. Powered by Sports Interaction. Want to bet?
The Steve Dangle Podcast with your hosts, Steve Dangle, Adam Wilde, and Jesse Blake.
All right. Well, I guess Steve's got his snacks out already. What are you eating?
This is it's called an Aberdeen roll, otherwise known as a Rowie. And it's going to help me survive this winter storm because it's made of like salt and fat and lard, and it's for when you're on a boat and you don't know if you're going to see your lad or lass again. So that's need that to survive a storm.
People love listening to a podcast and hearing a guy eat.
Yeah,
That's
kidding. Right?
That's what they love in their ears. Fucking munching on food. Awesome.
Yeah, we have a huge winter storm in the area, which is why we're remote today. And Jax, my co-host at Virgin, said to me this morning, she's like, "Do you have your storm chips?" I said, "What?" She's like, "Do you have your storm chips?" And I guess that's an East Coast thing where you go out to the store and you get your chips because there's a storm. You got to have storm chips, right?
I recently learned of stored storm chips. They're right. Maritimers. They're right? They're right. The Maritimers are rarely wrong.
Yeah.
And
well,
right
they do get big storms out there, like crazy. You know, their hurricanes turn to ice and snow. So it's pretty nice. She actually told me that when she was younger, she's like, when I was younger and still dating men, she got actually, I guess the snow hit so bad that she couldn't leave her boyfriend's house. And she's like, "Oh no, I'm stuck in here with my boyfriend." Like, "Oh, that sucks." When she was in high school. Or I guess her family told her not to go out. Anyway, so listen, I mean, it's sort of the last show of the year. We call it last live show, but you're going to get 6 podcasts over the course of the holidays. We've got a whole bunch of stuff lined up, including Jesse. What did you have? Like Hot Take a Palooza. Yeah,
Hot Take a Palooza is coming next week. We're not missing a scheduled show, so we're gonna be every Monday, Wednesday, Friday. There'll be a show, and yeah, Hot Take a Palooza is coming. All trivia was one of my favorite things. Steve Dangle and Adam Wilde try and hit the mark of their trivia, fun. Their goal. That was a lot of fun. Intense. We had all questions, non-hockey. Everybody submitted. We got like over nearly 300 questions, and we just ran through as many as we could in an hour. That's a very fun episode. And then we have normal things like our 2023 predictions. That comes towards the end of or into 2023. We've pre-taped some predictions that we think things are going to happen in the new year. So yeah, a lot of fun content over the next 2 weeks. You won't miss us.
And we were going to record those shows come hell or high water.
That's right. I got sick and we had to kind of record them back to back to back. It was a pretty intense shooting schedule the last couple of days, but we got it done. And of course, we're going to have some really cool odds and that sort of thing too from Sports Interaction about like, you know, what you can bet on going forward into this year, including I think there's like, you know, especially for Jesse, there's of course the how many goals will Willie score and like will he be the leading scorer at the end of the season, which I think Jesse, you took 50 goals.
Yeah.
20. He's at 20, bud.
You can bet if he's going to get 50. I put my money down on it.
50.
Yeah.
Now $2 Steve. Would $2 Steve put $2 on that?
$2 Steve is slamming $2 down on that.
That's 50 goals, huh? I can't wait for the articles about
I bet against it.
I can't wait for the articles about how he's played himself off the team because they can't afford to keep him.
Oh,
I love how
that's going to be the first thing. It'll be like, it won't even be the end of the season. It'll be mid-February. It'll be like, wow, you know, they only have a year and a half left. What are they going to do?
The fan base so unanimously rejects that narrative. Like, we've been through it and we didn't enjoy our lives as fans during it. Dude, address that issue when it gets here. Which it's not, by the way. Nylander is under contract this year and next. I refuse to worry about it.
Yeah. And the other thing is that the last time it happened, we were all worried everybody was going to go and they all stayed.
And everybody
stayed.
Go figure. No, it's crazy.
That's crazy how that happened.
Yeah, no, but Adam, I think you're right in that somebody's going to write the complete 180 reversal of the William Nylander story. And it's that, instead of we got to trade him, it's we can't sign him.
We can't sign him, so we got to trade him.
That's already happened.
Yeah, somebody's going to clickbait it.
Has that happened, Steve?
Yeah.
Oh.
So,
what?
Really? Places.
Okay.
All right.
Oh my God. I apologize for coughing. I can't keep it going. Wow. Really? Okay. Well, fair enough. It feels a little bit strange, by the way, not having you guys here. Cause like on a personal note, I guess over the pandemic, when we weren't together, we got used to the fact that, that we didn't see each other and we didn't have the energy in the room. But now sitting in this room without you guys here, it's very lonely. Like, I don't know. It's very weird. I miss the energy. I miss I don't know, where there's always like a bit of being amped up before the show. And I kind of miss that in here. And it makes me so grateful that that pandemic the pandemic time where we had to be apart for a year and a half or 2 years or whatever it was is over. Cause holy smokes, we did a whole bunch of shows like this.
I can tell this isn't a pandemic episode because we don't all look like complete shit.
Yeah, there's a clip in one of the 6 episodes we pre-recorded that are coming out in the next 2 weeks. One of them's a best of where we watch back some old stuff and we react to it and we talk about it.
It's a clip where you guys are very nice to me.
And we're awful to Steve because he tries talking about the zoo and we don't let him. But we look absolutely terrible. And it's crazy that they didn't let you get a haircut. You couldn't go anywhere to get groomed for freaking a year. It was crazy. And we look absolutely awful.
There were a few haircuts I got from Mrs. Dangle where you couldn't tell. Like it was professional. She did a great job. And there were a few where she did not. and it didn't look good. And then it got so much worse as it grew.
Yeah. That's the thing when you get these pandemic haircuts in your kitchen, they grow out and they just look even worse. So yeah. Anyway, dark times.
I remember too, I couldn't give my dog a haircut. And so I had to do it myself. Like I couldn't get the groomer to do it because that he's a schnauzer and he just grew. And I did a terrible, terrible job.
You butchered Cedric. I remember that.
Yeah. Oh, it was bad. It was just messy, really messy. And a couple of it never hurt him, but a couple of marks where it just gets a little too close to the skin, and it's like, well, that very clearly looks like somebody sheared that off him like he's a sheep. I got a good practice on that throughout the pandemic and I'm much better at it now, but holy smokes, what a hack job. Listen, today there's lots to talk about. Obviously, we've got the Toronto Maple Leafs and Philadelphia Flyers in the get us the hell out of here game yesterday.
Oh, man.
We also need to talk about the Boston Bruins sneakily putting out the report that they put out. And it's funny, it's made almost no news because everybody's basically on vacation, but we're going to go through sort of the what the Bruins report revealed and what the recommendations were. But first, let's get into You Can Bet That one last time this year with Dave Bastel.
You Can Bet That with David Bastel. Brought to you by Sports Interaction. Get in the action and make a play. 18 plus. Please play responsibly.
All right, now we know that we're going to continue with Dave next week, but this is sort of the last live in-session You Can Bet That we've got of the year, Dave. The best part about it is we get to talk World Juniors.
Yep, coming up on Boxing Day. Canada, of course, the favorites to win everything at 180, guys. It's not much value. You have some teams in there like the States, Finland, Sweden. Czechia's probably in that category too, but not really value on Canada. Are you guys leaning one way or another, or how far have you dug into this tournament, Steve?
Well, about as much as everyone else.
I'll just do whatever they tell me to on TV.
There's the top prospects. There's the guys who have already played NHL games, and then of course there's what I like to call the favorites of the nerds. And this is a great time of year to follow the nerds and listen to what the nerds say.
I'm on board.
What are the nerds saying?
Oh, let's do that hockey. It's coming.
Dave, who's got the second best odds? Like outside of Canada, who's the rated second best?
Team USA. They're supposed to come out of Group B. They're actually in a pretty challenging group because when you think of it, you have USA and Finland, which should meet in that Group B final. But a lot of people I've talked to about the tournament say Switzerland is starting to get into the conversation where they could make things interesting. Like you talk about the Swiss program that's gained a pretty good reputation in the last 5 or 6 years. The German programs kind of started to elevate a little bit, not quite at the Canada, Russia, Sweden, Finland, USA elk, but they're starting to make some strides. But are they going to be there at the end? We'll see. Canada opens up Boxing Day, of course, against Czechia. Something to look at. And Shane Wright, no surprise, the favorite at Sports Interaction to be the scoring leader. So we shall see.
We haven't talked about my favorite bet yet, which is Austria plus 5.5 against Sweden.
I'm actually glad you brought that up because with the puck line numbers for these international tournaments, you'll get that. You'll get like underdog plus 5.5 goals or 6.5 goals or like these are unheard of in the NHL. Only thing you get in the NHL is plus the puck and a half. I got to be careful how I say that. But in the international tournaments, it's like, yeah, do you like Germany plus 4 or 5 goals? Maybe. I mean, it certainly makes it interesting, doesn't it, Jess?
Yeah, they're like football spreads. Like I'm taking the Cowboys plus 3.5, except I get it in a hockey game. I think it's fun to root for like an underdog like Austria versus Sweden, and I get 5.5 goals to start the game, and I got to see if they can hold that lead. Like I think that stuff's so much fun. It makes these games that are typically uninteresting because Team Canada's not in it, makes them interesting to me.
Well said. Well said.
Well, Dave, it's been a real great year. We just want to say we appreciate everything you've brought, and it's been a pleasure getting to know you. 23 is going to be amazing, and we know you'll be right back here for it, so thank you so much.
I look forward to it. Best of you holidays for all you guys, all your listeners. It's been a lot of fun, and yes, 2023, even better than 2022.
This show is sponsored by BetterHelp. Now, we talked about this a lot, and it's getting to that time of the year where you're supposed to be happy. Everybody's talking about, happy, it's the holidays, it's this, it's that. You're even wearing a nice sweater, Steve.
With 4 of my non-broken face on.
That's right. Yeah, pre-broken Steve. But I have to say that, part of, unfortunately, what makes the holiday so hard for so many people is the fact that you're supposed to be happy and people are not sometimes. Or if you're feeling a little bit stressed or you're feeling a little bit overwhelmed, we all can be there. So we want to give you a bit of a helping hand through BetterHelp. It's the world's largest therapy service, has matched 3 million people with professionally licensed and verified therapists, 100% online, and it's affordable. You fill out a questionnaire, you're matched with a therapist. If things are not clicking, you can switch. And by the way, there's no waiting rooms, no traffic, no endless searching for the right therapist. Learn more and save up to 10% off your first month at betterhelp.com/SDP. That's betterhelp.com/SDP. Hey, if you think you know which way it's going to go, you got to make your bet at Sports Interaction. We've got you covered pre-game, live betting on all major sports and prop bets. If you want to bet, sportsinteraction.com/SDPN. 19 plus, please play responsibly. Fellas, do you lack confidence sometimes in the bedroom? Listen, everybody has those nights where you get a little too nervous and maybe you had too much to drink, and there's not much worse than not being able to stick shift the drive. Do you know what I'm saying?
What?
Adam.
What?
There's much better ways you could have said
Is
that.
there? I think you got my meaning. So that tells me that's the best way. Rex MD is here to spread cheer even when you've had too many beers. Rex MD is FDA approved and the most trusted leader in men's telehealth. Rex MD makes getting generic and branded Viagra or Cialis easy. Everything's online. Even with their prescription, they deliver it discreetly to your door. There's no waiting rooms, no embarrassing trips to the doctor, no insurance, and no copays. Take advantage of the best deal they've ever offered and save up to 90% and only pay $2 per dosage fees with our exclusive link. Go to rexmd.com/theathletic for this limited time deal.
Hey, so it's funny, Steve, you tweeted it yesterday and you said, like, basically this game has this Leafs Flyers game has I'm just waiting to see if my flight's been canceled vibes. Like, we did have this storm kind of coming in. We weren't sure when it was going to start. And boy, to that game, it was a game.
Yeah, there weren't many worse places to be in North America than Toronto waiting to fly out yesterday. And you could tell all the players, whether they just wanted to get back to Philadelphia or their hometown for Christmas or whatever, there was definitely an element of let's get the hell out of here. To the point where I think the only reason the Flyers didn't tie it yesterday is they didn't want to go to overtime. And like the first, it ended up becoming a game and it was pretty good. But man, that first period was tough. That
was an awful watch, and I think you're very right in that everybody was thinking about the charter jet that was waiting at the airport at Pearson, and they're like, "We need to get out of here." It was such a lull of a start, and like even the crowd is feel like they had to ease into it as well. I know it was a whole arena full of kids, but like the hockey was kind of slow, and everybody kind of eased into the game. And by the middle portion, it kind of picked up, and then by the end, we had some excitement. But yeah, real lull of a game.
The next generation game actually does kind of go like that, and no one remembers that because they always have an exciting finish. Yes. And this game was no different. I went to the first one. The Leafs beat the Hurricanes. I think it was 8-1. And even that game started like really clunky, and we're all sort of looking at each other like, it's 2 p.m. This is really silly that we're all here. A lot of Flyers fans were confused as hell because they're like, I'm sorry, why is this game at 2:00? It's this new annual tradition, next generation game. It's basically a game that kids can go to. I got to watch that game on TV with my son. I've gotten to do that 3 times in his life ever. So that was pretty interesting, but it started terrible before it picked up. You're not supposed to play hockey at 2 p.m. on a weekday. And everyone acknowledged that with their actions.
Yeah.
It took them a while to get into it.
Sloppy.
Yeah. It's almost like the first goal woke everyone up.
Well, and that first goal against Samsonov was just terrible. It was a terrible goal. It was, and the Leafs...
The D'Angelo one?
Well, the Leafs outplayed them. I mean, it was a power play goal. The Leafs outplayed Philly. Goal. I think it was, oh God, what did they outshoot them? 15-5 in the first period?
I think Philly went 4, I think, when it was 1-1, if I remember correctly.
The shots were like 30-10. Like, it was very similar to the Lightning game for the first bit.
Mm-hmm. And to be honest, it didn't get much better from there. However, the Flyers kind of did make it interesting at the end. Mitch Marner did extend his home point scoring streak. He's now 4th all time in points in a row at home for a Toronto Maple Leaf, just behind Daryl Sittler and Matt Sundin, which is pretty cool. Daryl Sittler did it a couple times. Matt Sundin did it in 07-08 when the Leafs were horrendous. Crazy.
That recent,
but he was the only one of the team scoring.
Yeah. That's unreal. That was his last season as a Leaf. My first season of LFR.
Yeah.
Vancouver Canucks great.
Yeah. That's right. Good to see Calle Yarncroke get a goal just because he'd been gone for so long, though, right? Like right off the bat in the second period. Got to think that helps him kind of get going a little bit, because when you're coming back from injury, not only do you feel a little bit out of shape, but you got to feel a little out of sync with where the team's gone. And you look at how the team's gone since he's been injured. They've been pretty damn good.
They have been, and it's very important to the team's success that he fit right back into the slot that he left, because one guy who tried to fill in for him was so bad at the job they traded him. And then there's Robertson who got hurt, and it really does tie the room together. You know what I mean? To have that Calle Yarncroke there, and a bit of a struggle to start the season for him, but what did I say? The dude is the picture of consistency. He is always good for 15 goals. And then here he is right back on track for that.
Right.
Like bang on. Every year of his career, he's never going to give you 10. He's never going to give you 20, but he will give you 15 every single year.
That's right. Marner, Bunting, and Nylander are the other people to score. William Nylander has 20 goals before Christmas. That's not bad. Morgan Frost and Joel Farabee made it sort of interesting at the end. And was it Farabee that missed the wide open cage too? Oh.
He had an eventful third period. He scored a goal. He missed the easiest tap in of his life, and he got called for a phantom penalty on DJ Brody, who I think might be getting a lump of coal in his stocking. I think he might go into the Christmas break with a fine for embellishment, because that was bad.
No, but it was great. That
sell it, baby.
He sold it big time. He's got a little bit of that reputation, and he's got to be careful.
Does he have a reputation of diving?
It's been bad this year.
Really?
Yeah, it's been bad this year.
I wouldn't say that about Brody.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Wow. Okay.
Watch.
All right.
I want to throw this at you because this for me was the most NHL thing I've ever seen. The power plays going into the third period where Philadelphia had gotten 5 penalties, the Leafs with 3 penalties, and the Leafs get the first 3 coming out. And of course, Timothy Liljegren being the last one, and then Joel Farabee evens it up. It was exactly the same amount of penalty minutes, 12 minutes served by each side. I just thought it was like, boy, the NHL really likes to just make that even. Got to be. Doesn't matter how the game's going. It must be even. It has to be.
No, one team is tripling up the other in shots. Got to even it up though.
Yeah, 100%. It is a thing in the NHL. I don't understand why they do it, but here they are. Going into Christmas, like, what do you say about this Toronto Maple Leafs team for the first, I guess, it's not like first half, but we're almost there. What do you see and what do you need to see?
I need to see an IR that is a shorter list. Need to see that. You're evaluating the team based on a few things. A, are they good? Yes, they're extremely good. They're winning games. They deserve to win the games. They're even winning games that they don't deserve to win. You're finding out you have depth. They have a lot more depth than I assumed. The Leafs have more depth on the back end than up front, which I would have never guessed ever in a million years. Oh yeah, Mac Hollowell, throw him in the lineup. They'll be undefeated. Never guessed that in a million years. But here they are. The thing the Leafs need to figure out the most is what they look like healthy. Because we straight up have not seen that. And, I'm not going to go as far as some Leaf fans saying, oh, well, this means you can trade Morgan Riley. I don't think... Who
said that?
Some people. I get the mentions like, oh, they've been great without him. Does this make him expendable? No, it doesn't. I want to know how he fits into this lineup once everybody is back, because someone is going to get pushed out on the back end who straight up does not deserve it.
That's a good place to be in.
Yeah.
I mean, you have around the trade deadline, you have teams giving up absolute fortunes for guys that, are going to be your 6-7 guy, right? The guys that are going to be, and it's just so that they can have a 6th or a 7th guy who deserves to play, who maybe can't play all the time. And when somebody gets injured, then they get to play all the time.
A 5th round pick is worth $1 million unless you need 9 games of Nathan Beaulieu. Then it's worth 9 games of Nathan Beaulieu. Like, it's just every year, like just picking a name out of a hat.
Right.
Every year, no, we need this depth guy. The Leafs give up a 5th for Ben Hutton.
That's right. And did he even play?
He did, like a handful of not very good games.
There you go. It's an interesting season because they did start so poorly and now are absolutely rolling and dominating. Do you think that they have, guys, the opportunity here, and do you think that they have the space to actually catch Boston? And I know a lot of people are like, well, there's a lot of games left. Of course they can. But the way Boston's playing, at the clip that they're playing at, is it possible they sustain this the entire year? And is it possible that maybe they don't? Maybe they become less than the greatest team we've seen in a generation, and the Leafs might be able to catch them, make it interesting.
Here's what I'm trying to look up. So the top teams: Boston, Carolina, Toronto is in 3rd, tied for 2nd actually with Carolina, Vegas, New Jersey, and then even going down to 6-7, you got Dallas, Pittsburgh. All of those teams, each and every one of those teams has gone through a skid of some sort. The Bruins haven't gone through any of that. They've had hardships, but they haven't had a skid at all. So I guess the question becomes, are they ever going to have one? And if they do, are the Leafs going to be able to continue their hot streak while the Bruins are skidding? Like, a lot of things. Right. It's unbelievable how many things have to fall into place in order to win the President's Trophy. The Leafs are 7-2-1 in their last 10. They're 13-2-3 at home. They're 500 on the road. That's not very good, but 8-5-3. They're 21-7-6 overall. you could not ask more out of this season other than spilled milk, which is the first 10 games or so of the season, but that's gone. So could the Leafs play the best hockey they've played in a generation the entire rest of the way and still not win it? Like, did the ship sail on the President's Trophy in October? Is it entirely possible?
I don't want to believe that.
I think that's fine. Like, winning the President's Trophy doesn't mean much for your playoffs chances we've seen in the last decade.
No, but go for it.
Oh, definitely. You're trying to win every game, Steve.
At the end of the day, the Leafs are in pursuit of a trophy.
Right.
They're trying to win a trophy. It's not the President's Trophy, but why not practice?
Right. Well, and and to that point, it doesn't matter how well how close they make it unless they actually take the President's Trophy from the Bruins, because the Atlantic beyond Toronto, Tampa, and Boston has been pretty weak this year. And it's, at least from this point, looking like, unless Detroit somehow squeaks in, those are the only three teams that are getting in, which means Toronto is guaranteed to play Tampa no matter how good they do.
It's unreal.
No matter how good they do.
You got to watch out for Buffalo there. Buffalo's they've been on a hot streak. They're 7-2-1 in their last 10, won 4 in a row. They seem to be charging up the standings real quick.
Here's how difficult it is to win the President's Trophy. The Leafs are 7-2-1 in their last 10. They have lost a point on Boston during that stretch and got passed by Carolina. That's how hard it is.
The President's Trophy, like, I'm so out on the President's Trophy. Like, why?
I'm out on playing Tampa in the first round, man. I'm out.
They should try and win 82 games. Like, is that not a thing that we all know? Like, yeah, you try and win every game.
I think in the context,
if they fall short of the President's Trophy, who cares?
It's a little different that it's within reach. Yes, you're trying to win every game, but you saw how different when there is a mantle, something changes. You saw that the Leafs, when Marner was on his streak, straight up played differently. Marner, when he was approaching that streak, straight up played differently. He did. He was missing empty nets. He looked visibly nervous, and then he got it. He got it. Now he's this new monster. It's, you go into every game trying to win, but I'm saying there's just a little extra added something when the win can mean that much more.
I feel like
also I just don't want to play Tampa in the first round. Is that okay? Can I admit that?
That's fair. Yeah, try to win the division.
Second round
every game. You
know? Yeah,
I feel
here's what it would look like.
Talking about Zdeno Chara, like, oh, you needed the extra motivation. Like, there wasn't enough just to win every game. You needed to go make up motivation. Oh, we gotta get the President's Trophy. Why just win every game?
Won, by the way. So
Chara's team did win.
Whatever Chara needed that worked, I think we should praise and not criticize.
Yeah, man. What? By the way, man, I was so hoping for something fun to come out of that segment, like Bieksa and Chara, like a one-on-one on Hockey Night in Canada or something. What a fart, man! He just seemed sour. He seemed so sour about it. And I'm like, come on, Bieksa, you're the funny one. Do the funny thing. And he's just like, we had a great leadership group. Yeah, okay, great, that's cool, but you didn't win. So why don't we have some fun with this and make some fun out of this? I don't know, man. Made me sad. Made me sad. I wanted a celebrity boxing or something. I don't know.
Hockey Night in Canada is perfect according to Steve Dangle.
It is. Yeah. It is. And the other reason I would love for the Leafs to catch Boston is right now the Washington Capitals are like 8th place. I like that. Listen, I might live to regret this, but I like the Leafs versus Washington a heck of a lot more than I do the Leafs versus Tampa. Just
even though the Caps just ran the Leafs show.
Yeah, it's one game. I think the Leafs will be okay. I think they'd be okay. I know they have to slay the dragon eventually. I know the road to the Cup's gonna have to go through Tampa or Boston this year. I know that. But sometimes you just don't you want to avoid a little conflict? A little bit? No?
I think the Leafs journey, like, let's allow ourselves to dream. After all, it is Christmas.
Yes.
If this is the year, if I think it would be amazing for the journey if they have to go through the team that this whole group cut their playoff teeth on. If they have to go through Washington first, as the President's Trophy winner, which Washington was when the Leafs played them. Then in the second round, you got to go through Boston because of course you do. There's no situation where the Leafs can play Washington, Boston, then Tampa, right? Maybe if Tampa's the top wild card, maybe.
But I don't know.
Don't make me do math. That would be perfect, though. Any combination of they got to play Washington, then Boston, then Tampa, and then of course in the final they got to play the Blue Jackets or something.
When was the last time a President's Trophy winner won the Stanley Cup?
God, that's got to be a long time.
I don't know.
Can you tell me off the top of your head? I know.
Think here.
It's trivia.
Last time the President's Trophy winner. Detroit in 2008?
The
New
2013
Jersey in 95.
The 2013.
That one should have been obvious. Yeah, that team was unbeatable.
It's going to be, unless it happens this year, it's going to be a decade. The President's Trophy doesn't mean playoff success.
Does it mean more than one round?
It might mean,
usually.
It mean second round?
It doesn't mean going past the second round. So I'll read off to you the last President's Trophies, the last 10 years of President's Trophies.
Okay.
Florida Panthers lost in the second round. Colorado Avalanche lost in the second round. Boston Bruins lost in the second round. Tampa Bay Lightning lost in the first round. Predators second round. Caps second round. Capitals second round. Rangers conference finals. Bruins second round.
So you're telling me there's only a 10% chance the Leafs will lose in the first round if they win the President's Trophy?
I'm into it.
Let's go! Let's go! President's Trophy, let's go!
I'm just saying, the Stanley Cup champion doesn't come from the President's Trophy very often.
I get that, but I think if you look at the Leafs context, which is avoid Boston and Tampa, at least as much as you can, I'm into it.
Sure.
Just saying.
Boston's going to go on an intentional losing streak just to be like the bottom wild card team.
Yeah, no kidding, right? Hey, by the way, the Bruins have announced the completion of their independent review, which took place following their failed signing of prospect Mitchell Miller. This is from Frank Saravalli. The team says the report showed no misconduct by the team, but recommended a series of steps be implemented as per the team release. And here they are. Number one, establish clear written policies for vetting off-ice conduct, including identifying red flags requiring detailed vetting and documentation resolution. Number two, establish clear timetables and responsibilities within the organization to investigate prospects, community, and or other off-ice commitments. Number three, establish centralized documentation of vetting to include reporting on red flags and off-ice issues and ensure such documentation is available to all stakeholders involved in the process. Number four, establish a tracking system to ensure responsibilities for all vetting tasks so they are clearly assigned and tracked. So meaning people within the organization, making sure that they're doing what they say they're going to do. Number five, utilized independent third-party resources to investigate and resolve factual issues when reviewing red flags. Meaning if Mitchell Miller says he's doing this thing that's really good for the community, maybe use a third party to find out if he is. And number six, determine whether there are specific training or rehabilitation programs that the prospect should participate in, depending upon the nature of the red flags. And the Boston Bruins have said that they will implement these immediately. What is your first reaction to this, guys?
What a song and dance. That's my first reaction. We concluded that we found no misconduct. Was that ever the accusation?
No, that was never the accusation.
Were we ever like the Bruins? This is misconduct. No, what we all said was, wow, what a stupid fucking decision. That's what we all said. There doesn't need to be misconduct for you to make a stupid fucking decision. The accusation was always, oh, what a stupid fucking decision. So, we found no misconduct. Great. Like, what do you think you would have found? That there was some sort of underhanded, under the table. It just feels like you found something no one asked you to find. Or no, even worse, you didn't find something no one asked you to find. No one asked you to find that. And it just felt like they learned their lesson from the last time where they announced the signing before Hockey Night in Canada, a Leaf game in Toronto. And instead, they decided to wait until the Leaf game was over and drop it right before Christmas at 5 o'clock on a Thursday.
Yeah.
And
that's the lesson they learned here.
The lead got buried a bit. This Frank Saravalli tweet went big. The follow-up tweet was, to my knowledge, Miller remains under contract with the Bruins and has earned more than $116,000 American since his November 4th signing. So the dude's made $116,000 in 6 weeks. If that's cancel culture, may we all get canceled.
Yeah, because he's being paid right now to sit at home because you can't just get rid of an NHL contract. It's not like an NFL one where you just cut a guy, So they just have to pay out this deal. And it's such a blatant hiding of the story by the Bruins. I think we should put a lot of emphasis on when this came out and the fact that they're just trying to drop this so everybody forgets about it. It's going to be the holidays when everybody comes back. It's going to be January, and they can say, you know what, we didn't do anything here. Everything was good with our process, and let's move on. It's such a spit in the face of everybody who cared about this story when it dropped, because now they're just like, okay, we're all good now. Let's move on.
Their management group.
It's important that you know that they know they're good. We're going to do this, so we know we're good now. I looked at this and I was like, the one thing I will say is that that's how it works in literally every other organization. In every other organization where there's red flags, that's how it works.
We are pledging to do things properly, like we should have been.
We're coming into the 21st century, is what that document tells me.
That no one has their finger on the pulse like the Boston Bruins management group. They're always like, you know what? No. I think people like us too much.
Yeah. Well,
how much do the players wish everyone would just shut the hell up? Honestly, shut the hell up. Just shut the hell up. Just let Patrice Bergeron do his thing. Why are you ruining this for him? Stop being.
It's I think that's specifically what they're trying to do. They don't want to talk about it anymore. The reality is that the outcry after the Mitchell Miller situation probably precludes this from happening, I would think, anytime again in the near future. Because I think, based on the reaction out of Montreal when Logan Mailloux was drafted, and then, Mitchell Miller being signed like this, I think NHL teams, remember there was Slava Voinov was a very, very, very good defenseman for the Los Angeles Kings. And I believe he was booked on domestic assault and battery. And he was basically kicked out of the league and he had to go to the KHL. But there were teams that were circling on him, and he was in Florida, and I'm not saying the Panthers were going to sign him. I don't know which teams were in on him, but we know that he was in the United States, the continental United States. And from what we heard, it was going to happen. And then poof, this story went away. Now, usually what happens is NHL head office steps in and they go, no, you're not going to do that. I'm saving you from yourself, you morons. But I think at that point they recognized, hey, fans are not going to take too kindly to a person who's been booked on assault and battery against a woman being in the league.
Here, let me give some the detail to that, because I didn't realize how long ago this happened. But from LAtimes.com, after pleading no contest to a misdemeanor charge of corporal injury to a spouse, he served almost 2 months in jail in 2015. U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement then took him into custody, and he returned to Russia rather than go through deportation proceedings.
Right.
It's pretty serious, but it was also 7 years ago, which I didn't realize.
Right. And there were teams looking for a top four defenseman with a right shot, and he would have fit the bill. And so it seems that as though the message, really, I think the most powerful message out of this, it has been the team response. It's like you look at Boston fans and the way they responded to this, the way that they wrote letters and petitions and all these things. And I don't think that the NHL team, I know that the club was not prepared for that. And I'm sure NHL teams are like, well, shit, their fan base is that passionate and loves everything that they do. Imagine if we tried that shit. Won't happen. So the change will probably just come from the fan reaction itself and the fear of the fallout more than maybe internal policies, if that makes any sense.
Every now and then, fans give teams a little reminder that they're the ones in charge. And Bruins fans, I think to no one's surprise, reminded the Boston Bruins front office they're in charge.
Yeah, absolutely. it's a fascinating story and a fascinating end, or it'll be a fascinating blight on this season for the Bruins, which has been overwhelmingly positive. Guys, I think going into the holidays here, I'm kind of trying to figure out, because I don't want to go too much into predictions, because we do a little bit of that in the holidays. But can I ask you what your surprises were? What your surprises have been so far this year? Like, what storylines, good or otherwise, have blown you away? Players, good or otherwise, teams. What's really got your attention?
Erik Karlsson randomly deciding to put up the best offensive season of his career at least 2 or 3 years after he was officially cooked is wild to me. Wild. Like, he wasn't able to do this in his prime, and he's somehow able to do it on what, to the best of our knowledge, is essentially one leg. Like, I don't know how he's been able to do this and maintain it.
Jesse, what about you?
We make fun of you, Adam Wild, for your love of the Devils, but how hot the Devils are! I never thought they'd get goaltending. Just getting goaltending would spark this team in this way. Especially when they started the year and that first week of the season when the crowd was chanting "Fire Lindy." I thought it was like, okay, the Devils haven't changed. This has been the same thing for 4 years. They don't have goaltending. The offense can't make up for it. The defense isn't really there, and they need a complete change here. And we don't know if Jack Hughes is ever going to amount to anything. We don't know what the defense is going to be. And then all of a sudden, they go on this ridiculous winning streak, and they're one of the best teams in the National Hockey League. I didn't expect this from the Devils at all, and I'm pleasantly surprised for all the fans out there, including you, Adam.
Rasmus Dahlin and Tage Thompson for me. I cannot believe what those guys are. They're dragging the Sabres towards a playoff spot right now. Not that the Sabres are that bad, but I didn't see this year, guys, as the year that they'd be challenging for a playoff spot. And maybe they don't make it. But, when Tage Thompson was signed to that extension, I think people, myself included, were rightly like, okay, he had that one good year, and yes, he was dominant, but we've seen plenty of guys have one good year, get a big contract, and it be a mess. Tage Thompson looks like he's getting better. He's scary with what he can do with the size of his body, and the fact that he's able to. I mean, there's times where I'm like, is that Sidney Crosby bodying people out, or is that Tage Thompson bodying people out? The way he moves, he's very quick with his hands, and he's fucking huge, man. He's huge. What are you supposed to do?
Some of us have been on the Tage Thompson bandwagon.
I know.
And
I know you
gave him
were.
our most underrated player of 2022 award last season. If we're talking about awards,
You were right.
I was on the Tage bandwagon.
I think Tage Thompson is a unicorn, but we need to stop thinking every top 5 pick that is not a Hart contender immediately is Nail Yakupov, because Rasmus Dahlin was a first overall pick, and then he got good, and we all acted surprised. I think we're wrong for that, and it's a cautionary tale for the likes of Alexis Lafreniere and Capo Caco as well. Capo Caco, by the way, one of the hottest players on the entire Rangers right now. So we need to stop writing off players with elite resumes when they're essentially children, and then acting surprised when they're superstar adults.
It's kind of fun though, isn't it?
Can we? Sure. Can I also add to the biggest surprises? I want to shout out the core of the Winnipeg Jets in Scheifele and Wheeler.
Credit where it's due.
Stripping the captaincy, all the drama during the summer. We thought everybody was going to be traded, and they're going to be left with nobody and Connor Hellebuck. PLD complaining, having that that interview where he trashed the team and he wanted to go to Montreal. Like, that was the thing. All about that. And now they're a top 10 team. They look great. I think they're second in the division. They're top 3 in the West. And Scheifele and Wheeler have just been playing their game, playing well.
Yeah. And to be as good as they've been without Ehlers, who I think is such a key part of that team. Yeah, really impressive, man. Josh Morrissey, I don't think we mentioned. Unreal. Having a Norris caliber season.
Yeah.
I didn't think we'd see that. I didn't know he had that in him.
Well, what do they call it? Norrisy? Josh Norrisy now?
They should. They should. Why
it's
not?
a good nickname. I like it.
Love
yeah,
that.
I can't tell you that I'm surprised that Connor Hellebuck's good, but wow, is he ever good? That team lives and dies by that goalie, and he's been every bit the guy that you want. Amazing. Now, Jesse, I've got a question for you. Do you want to do an extended press conference today? Because we do have some extra time. The news, as you can imagine, is a little bit slower. We are kind of waiting up to gear up for World Juniors, and there isn't a ton of major storylines with the exception of some canceled games up here and a lot of games actually in action tonight. A lot of teams getting ready to play.
Yeah.
Jesse, what do you think?
Yeah, let's do it.
Can I just say, I'm so distracted because I never look at myself in this specific light. My nose is fucked. Look at that.
Is it?
Look at that. It's a letter.
Doesn't look bad at all.
You're literally zooming in on your nose and analyzing it with your squinted eyes.
Yeah, man.
Like,
I think you look good.
It's fine.
Just the way the light is hitting it. No. What happened to my nose? Oh, well. It's all good.
'Tis the season to deck those halls, shave those balls, and get them all shiny with Manscaped. You got to use Dangle. Promo code Dangle at manscaped.com. Get you 20% off and free shipping. Now, guys,
that was good.
plenty of things that you can do, especially these are great stocking stuffers. So, I'll reach behind me into my tickle trunk of Manscapedness. The Weed Whacker. Okay, so the Weed Whacker is interesting because at a certain point, you reach an age where your nose hair gets longer than your nostril.
And your ears.
And your ears. And this is what the Weed Whacker is really good
Your
for.
mustache goes into your sinus.
That's right.
People don't tell you that.
You know what they call that? The thing in your ear? When they call them your little pussy willows. That's actually what they call them.
A pussy willow.
That's what my grandmother used to call them for my grandfather. She's like, your pussy willows, they're getting a little long there, dear.
Let's retire that.
I know.
Like,
let's retire it with the Manscaped Weed Whacker. It's easy. And again, you got to go to manscaped.com /Dangle or promo code Dangle, whatever you want to do. And then you get 20% off and free shipping. Manscaped. Let's clear it up for the holidays, baby. Hey, so we have some experience with Shopify. Jesse?
yes.
Tell us about it.
STPNshop.ca is built on Shopify.
So with Shopify, you're going to be able to customize your own online store, right, Jesse?
Like ours.
And discover new customers, right, Jesse?
like all the customers we have.
And build the relationships you want to create with diehard fans, which we hope we've created with you. And it's funny because we, when Shopify came on as a partner, we were like, I didn't even know that Jesse had used Shopify as the platform. And then he's like, hey, did you know?
Jesse doesn't tell us anything.
No, he doesn't. He just does it.
Part of his charm.
And thanks to their 24/7 support and free on-demand business courses, Shopify is on your team every step of the way. So when you're ready to take your winning idea to the world, team up with Shopify, the commerce platform powering millions of businesses, including ours, down the street and around the globe. Try out Shopify for free and start selling anywhere. And if you want to sign up for a free trial, shopify.com/SDP, all lowercase. We didn't even get a free trial. We just did it.
It's true.
Go to shopify.com/SDP. You're getting a better deal than we did to start selling online today. Again, shopify.com/SDP.
The Presser. SDP. The Steve Dangle Press Conference.
I didn't know if that button still worked.
It still works.
Hey,
How about that?
Good. That was from back in the pandemic Zoom days. They had
Well
that button
done.
put in.
Well done.
And it still works. Awesome. All right. This question comes from Matthew Brower. Maple Leafs should trade for Carter Verhaeghe as a cheap depth option. Change my mind.
The Panthers are not going to do that. And the Panthers are also never going to be sellers because the Habs are never giving them their first round pick back. So
Right.
They're not going to trade Verhaeghe. They're going to try to keep him. It's not going to happen. It would be amazing if Verhaeghe went back to the team that drafted him. But that's simply not going to happen. Also, I feel compelled to point out he makes $4.16 million this year and next.
Okay. So, Matthew, that cheap thing in your question, not true.
Yeah, Verhaeghe is a cheap option. It's an oxymoron. You're not going to get him.
No, that's not true. All right. This is from Hockey Zekel. William Nylander question. My eyes tell me he's working harder without the puck this year, and his positioning looks a lot better defensively. Am I right? Do fancy stats agree with what I'm seeing, or are all the boomers still right about him?
So I was asked sort of a question about numbers or what to look for recently, and I've gone through several trends in my videos over the years, and I am actually trying to not read the numbers as much because I think when there's a big enough discrepancy in the numbers, A, you'll see it, and B, it'll be talked about, and then I can reference what a smarter person than me is saying about this person's numbers. So I just thought my videos got too reliant on numbers for a while, and I wanted to get away from it, and I sort of almost quit them cold turkey. Nylander, what I think you're noticing more is I don't know if this is him being personally responsible for this or Sheldon Keefe coaching to his strengths better, but Nylander's strengths are being accentuated. He's always been a thief at the offensive blue line and in the neutral zone. On the offensive side of the ice, he's always been one of the Leafs' better defensive players. But you don't ever think about that because that's to your mind and your eyes, that's not where defense is played. Defense is played in the defensive zone, but what Nylander does the best is he prevents the puck from ever getting there.
Mm-hmm.
If there is something he's gotten better at, I think he's transitioned his thievery to the defensive blue line. I don't know what the numbers say on that, but just from my eye, that's been better. He's been more attentive to the point, the team attacking at the point when it's in the Leafs' end, which is a weakness of his that I've noticed in previous years. He was too slow to make that decision or unwilling to attack or what have you. He's been doing that much better. He's playing to his strengths, which is friggin' winning puck battles and being one of the most underratedly strong guys on the team. So I maybe the reason I don't see this defensive renaissance with William Nylander is I never viewed him as a poor defensive player.
Well, and the numbers back you up on that.
Yeah.
Advanced numbers wise, he was never a bad defensive player.
No.
And so I think, you got to remember the type of hockey that boomers grew up with too, and we don't give them any grace for this. Go back and watch like Wendell Clark best hits. All of them are illegal. Go watch Doug
Scott Stevens.
Stevens, braining guys. Watch some of the fights from the 80s. No wonder that these fucking boomers, no wonder they think he's not tough because or hardworking, because the game has completely changed, right? So when you go back and you watch those 80s and 90s clips, you're like, oh my God, like this is a different game. This doesn't exist anymore. And so a guy like William, who, our generation saw as, this guy's got unbelievable speed. He's got a great shot when he hits the net. He's got all these amazing tools. Well, the guys on TV grew up in a different generation who watched different hockey a different way. And often a lot of them are players and they played it in a different way. So of course they're going to be like, what the fuck is this guy? But the reality is the Leafs have a front office that's smart enough to hang on to him. I actually, I started a tweet yesterday, if you don't mind me going into it, of all the people that William Nylander was almost traded for.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I don't know if you guys want to see it.
Sure.
So because Grav tweeted about his where he ranks this season. He's first in goals, third in assists. This is on the Leafs, second in points. He's got second in even strength points, first in even strength goals, and his goals for per 60 is second on the entire team. And I said, wow, bummed we never traded him to the Panthers for Mike Matheson, or the Blue Jackets for David Savard, or the Canucks for Chris Tanev. And I said, did I miss any?
You did. Noah Hannafin.
Noah Hannafin. Although I thought the Noah Hannafin one was Mitch Marner. I thought it was Marner for Hannafin.
Oh, you know what? You're right.
Well,
and then there was one.
Oh, go ahead.
Sorry, go ahead, Jess.
I was going to say, because the thing was that we could have drafted Noah Hannafin, because you could have had a fit at
that's
pick,
right.
Right.
And they wanted
Hannafin was Marner.
Yeah,
that was the Marner draft. Oh,
yeah,
okay.
And that's why the Marner Hanifin flip, because Marner was playing on the fourth line, and they were like, well, can he even do this? Like, Babs doesn't like him. He doesn't trust him. And then there's one from Kipper, which is an all-timer. And I love Nick. He's a great guy, but this is a brutal one. I'm sure I've got takes like this somewhere too. To the Toronto Maple Leafs. Sorry, to the Ducks, William Nylander. To the Toronto Maple Leafs, Brandon Montour and Nick Ritchie.
Ooh.
Oh.
Yeah, that's a rough proposal. Brett Pesce's name came up.
Do you have what year that was? The Nick one?
That has to be
2015
or sorry, 2017, 2018. Don't you think?
Yeah. And that's when Nick Ritchie was like at the top of his value.
Right.
Ooh,
right.
Boy. Yeah, Montour, I think Montour's career has gotten better since that tweet. Ritchie's the opposite.
Nylander for Josh Manson was floated. Willie for Damon Severson was floated. To St. Louis for Pietrangelo. That was rumored, but that was never serious. Like, that was never a thing that was going to happen. And one was one of the rumors to the Flyers for Gostisbehere and Wayne Simmons.
Ooh, yeah. There's a definite theme. Hey, it's let's go get a defenseman and let's go get some sandpaper.
Yep.
Right.
Yeah. If you go through all of those and you see the forward that they're trading for, it's somebody who the Boomers think William Nylander should be. But what, like, as the leader,
take it easy on Boomers, man.
I'm sorry. As the leader of the We Love Willie,
he's
fan
not
club,
wrong though, Jesse.
No, I know.
Like he's an elite scorer, and what is wrong with that? Like he's learned he's grown his game in such a great way where he's able to float into the right spots, and you especially see it this year, and just pot goals and always get to the front of the net and find the puck when it's loose, and then put it in the back of the net, or get these great scoring chances off of the rush. And he's had an extreme amount of breakaways this year. If you're watching all the Leafs games, you'll see William Nylander's always the one leading the rush when he's out there. And like he's a winger. And these Boomers have always wanted him to play as a tough center on a fourth line and do all of the defensive zone responsibilities. And I get there's the stupid gif of him one time or a couple times going in the corner and laying off of a check and not laying the body. That happened, okay? But that's not his game. He's an elite scorer now. Why isn't that acceptable? He's a great player, and thank God Kyle Dubas and the Leafs team took the time with this player, because we have great value right now with his contract.
I think a lot of it, to your point, Jesse, a lot of that came from the fact that Dubas said he actually laid out what they were going to do. We're going to get high-end talent, and we're going to keep them. And for the guys that are tough, we're going to go and trade and sign for those guys. We're going to go find those guys. And nobody believed that they could do it, and here they are doing it. Every year they find somebody, right? What are we going to do when Zach Hyman goes? Well, in comes Michael Bunting. Boy, we need an answer at third line center. Well, here's David Kampf. Who the fuck is David Kampf? You know what I mean?
The conversation with the Leafs is always, this player is so good, the Leafs are not going to be able to keep them, so it's bad. Whereas the conversation should always be, holy shit, they routinely get amazing players and give them get them to play at a level where they get a contract that's going to set them up with generational wealth.
Yes.
Now, I would love it if they were able to keep them, but they had Andreas Janssen, they had Kasperi Kapanen, they had Connor Brown, they had Zach Hyman, they had Jack Campbell, they had
Jake Gardner, James Van Riemsdyk, Tyler Bozak. Like, all those guys.
The guys I'm listing, though, were unestablished before joining the Leafs, or they were depth picks or whatever. And then every time you lose one, you go, oh, the team's fucked. They're never going to be able to replace them. And then they get shithead McGillicuddy from some league you've never heard of, and they come in and score 40 points. The Leafs do not get enough credit for the Mark Donks and Buzz Flibbits of the world.
Maybe it's the Leafs who are making these guys good and getting them to their next contract. And then they grow as players once they're within this organization, and then they graduate and they move on because we can't afford them anymore. But credit the Leafs for growing these guys and just plugging anybody in around the core and growing them as great players.
That's why
they should have been dead in the water a long time ago.
Oh, yeah. Well, that's why the Mason Marchment thing always pisses me off, because it's like, guys, Mason Marchment was never going to get ice time here. He never was. The team was too good. The players ahead of him had way better skating. It's great that things turned out for him, but he was never going to get the ice time here that he needed to become the success that he's become.
Add Mason Marchment to the list. Add Trevor Moore to the list.
Yep.
Add Alexander Barabanov to the list.
Yeah. Who's doing well.
You know what I mean? Like, if you add all those guys back to the Leafs, if there's no salary cap, you put them all back on the Leafs, they win the Stanley Cup. It's not how it works. It's just not how it works. None of those players emerge into the players that they currently are without going somewhere else. Was Trevor Moore ever going to get off of the Leafs' fourth line?
No.
Maybe let's say there's no salary cap. Why isn't it just lovely that he got to go to a different situation with the LA Kings that started terribly, by the way? It did not start well for him last season, but he sticks it out on a line with Philip Deneau, and now he's a multimillionaire. Hooray! Isn't that amazing?
It's great.
And what if the Leafs lose Michael Bunting? What if the Leafs lose David Kampf? What if? Then they replace them with who? I don't know, but I feel like there's enough of a track record there now where we can take our foot off the anxiety gas a little bit and be like, you know what? This group that should be re-signed, by the way, deserves a little bit of credit for always finding new guys. And I know the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result. I don't think getting rid of the Dubas management group makes any sense.
No, it doesn't.
I don't think it makes any sense. You're not committing to a hard reset. You got your core locked up and you're desperately trying to re-sign Austin Matthews at the end of this. You should lock this guy up. You should lock Kyle Dubas up.
Steve, my question is not whether or not the Leafs want to lock Kyle Dubas up. My question at this point is, does he want to stay? And if you want to have the anxiety conversation, I don't know that he does. He's taken a lot of shit here. Yeah. And he had a really good trade with the Chicago Blackhawks and Knicks last year. And the one of the players involved in that deal, Brandon Hagel, went and ate his fucking team alive during a 7-game series. If your upper management doesn't trust you enough to make deals like that, I'm going to find a team that can.
The grass isn't always greener, though. You can always find a meddling manager.
I agree. I'm just saying I'm not sold that he necessarily needs to stay. Maybe he wants to. Does he need to? He doesn't need to.
MLSE is going to royally fuck this up if they lose Dubas. Like, I that's such a non-starter for me. Like, how is not the most successful regular season back-to-back years in Toronto Maple Leafs history not enough? How is not just having all those guys be listed? And side note, having the perspective of being like, oh, hey, look at Trevor Moore and Mason Marchment, and not looking at all of the guys that are successful here and like focusing on the guys that have left and been successful. That's the worst perspective you can have in the world. But that's a side note.
Today is December 23rd. Mm-hmm. Do you know what happened on November 29th? This past year? Yeah, just a few weeks ago. No?
What happened?
Kyle Dubas turned 37.
Wow. Young guy?
Lock the guy up.
No, that's going to be one of the biggest mistakes in franchise history. If they don't just give him a couple more years, just re-sign him, give him whatever he wants. Just run this back and see what's happening, because they've clearly built a very good team, and the organization has only been trending up since he got here.
Right.
He's made a number of questionable decisions. Most of them
playoff success aside, which I don't think you can put it at his feet anyway. Completely anyway. I think that there is, I think you guys are right. And the other thing that Kyle Dubas is going to be looking at here is, remember, when he signed his contract as general manager, he was a rookie GM. He had been the AGM, but he had not been the full-time GM. He's been the GM now for, I think, 4 years. This contract that he's going to get is going to be a significant raise as well, financially. Behind the scenes, MLSE can absolutely afford it. It's not a question of that. But you know that whatever Kyle Dubas is looking out for now, he's got a young family. He's going to be looking out for big bucks. And if you're him and you've put together the resume that you have, why wouldn't you? The Leafs had better be not only willing to pony up on years, because he's going to be asking for a long-term deal. It better be a high AAV. And there's no salary cap on general managers. So you can bet that he would be one of the most sought after GMs this summer. No question about it. So anyway, Jesse, next question.
Yeah, no, but to end that, like if Kyle Dubas doesn't get re-signed in Toronto, there's 30 GMs who better be worried about losing their job because they might fire them and bring in Kyle Dubas.
31.
Yeah.
Because he wouldn't come back to the Leafs. And then, so I guess 31. Yeah.
Yeah.
And Sakic, I think, is okay. And Yzerman, I think, is okay.
Yeah. There's a couple that are okay. Next question. This one is from that Mr. Z. I think this is fun, and it should be all Adam Wild. When are we getting the SDPN equivalent of the Fireman calendar?
Oh, let's go.
The Fireman. Oh, you mean just me?
Yeah.
Just me
Oil up,
doing
buddy.
that?
I think you get 12 Aaron Andrews collections for 12 different hockey teams, and we'll go January through December. And we sell the calendar for charity or something.
By the way, when you see calendars for sale still, and you rarely do, why do they always are like, well, this is a 16-month calendar. Why do you have a 16-month calendar? What's the point of that? You guys have seen that, right?
I know for
12-month calendar?
18 months, I think. Or is it 16? I don't know.
16 is the one I always see. I'm like, why would I want 16?
They go September to the next January or something like that to help.
I guess. I'm talking about calendars with like, the puppies calendar or the fireman calendar. By the way, I would do the fireman calendar if there was a charitable aspect. If we could sell this and it was for charity, then yes, I would totally do that. I just don't know how we would do that. And it sounds like a lot of undertaking for very little gain. Like, really, we're not going to raise much money. It's not going to sell that well. And it doesn't look good. I don't know, man. What charity wants to be associated with that too?
We should start planning this. We'll get a photographer who's willing to like burn their eyes, and then we'll get a photo shoot done, and we'll start planning for next year for 2024.
I don't even think we'd raise $1,000, guys.
I'm worried about the photographer who's like me.
Oh,
I don't know. That was you were a little too eager.
Yeah. Why are you so into this?
That's hilarious.
I'm not saying you're not gorgeous, Adam. But
oh, thank you. It's in the eye of the beholder. I know that.
Listen, you put a ring on it.
Sure did.
Therefore, got the ring put on you.
This one's from Luke Berna, and it's something that kind of bubbles under the Leafs fan talk every once in a while. We hear this name brought up, and Luke brings it up here. Would you trade Ottawa's third from the Murray trade, so their extra third round pick, to Chicago or Max Domi?
Yeah, I saw that recently. I just don't think that's what you need.
Mm-hmm. But there's a fixation on the name. Leafs fans, nostalgic for Ty, have always kind of wanted Max on this team.
It's nothing against the guy. He's a center. Leafs don't need him there. Like, basically, it's would you put Max Domi second line left wing? Which, I mean, the guy gets a ton of points. He's a pass first player, but can score.
We know he would love to play here.
Yeah, Tavares is more of a goal scorer. Marner's a playmaker. Domi, you could sort of, I guess, put in the middle. He's hard nose, which is fine, but does he truly match the style and what they're trying to do?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I feel like there are options out there that are a better fit. Leaf fans are trying to do the bargain bin thing. Nah. There's a reason I keep saying Timo Meier. Big fish. Go out there and get the big friggin' fish. Listen, if he comes here, I think it'd be a popular decision that could go very well. For some reason, he doesn't strike me as the best fit.
Yeah, I think I don't think there's a question Max Domi would love to be a Leaf. It's more like if you're the Toronto Maple Leafs, I guess you could go get. I think Steve, maybe the argument would be, why don't you get both? Get Timo Meier, get Max Domi, and if it costs you a third, you could. But it's at a certain point, are you just collecting players like they're Pokemon, or is there an actual fit for this? Right? Are we just trying to fill out the Rolodex of former Leaf kids, or is it that you want your dad and you to agree on a certain player that you both like, and your dad can agree on a guy named Domi more than he can on a guy named Nylander? Like, listen, I'm not trying to diminish what Max brings. He's all the things Steve said he is. He's made millions of dollars over the course of his career because he is the things that Steve said he is. But I agree. I do think you want to go big game hunting at this trade deadline, because I can guarantee you this: Colorado and Boston will be. And so will Vegas, because they always do. And if you think, well, the Leafs can only do that one trade deadline. Well, no, that's not true either, because Vegas does it all the time. All the time. Boston does it all the time. The Leafs just haven't had it work out. And also, I think they learned their lesson when they traded considerable assets for a guy on the downslope of his career who brings a lot more grit than he does scoring. I think if you're going to fire first-round picks at a team, you better be getting a guy back who scores 30 or 40 goals a year.
Like, maybe this is the wrong way to look at it, and maybe it's insulting. So I'm going to acknowledge that Max Domi is better than this player. But getting Max Domi to me seems like a juiced-up version of getting Alex Galchenyuk to fix your top six. Like, he's a guy who I don't know if he's a depth guy. I don't know if it works out. I mean, Carolina's a really smart team, and they acquired him last year. And he's putting up a lot more points this year in Chicago because he's been given this top six role. So, like, could he be an answer next to Tavares and Marner? Fine. But that's not ideally where Max Domi should be playing. Like, I just feel like there's a better fit out there for him where he can have success. I'm not saying he's a bad player. I think he could hoist the Stanley Cup this year. I just think for his individual success and for the Leafs team success, there's probably a better fit out there for the Leafs, and there's probably a better fit out there for him.
You know where it makes a lot of sense for Max Domi to go?
Where?
Boston.
No. Ooh, I could see it.
You could see that.
You could, well,
and he'd fucking love it. He's one of those guys that would be openly loving that. So
let me see what they got. Bergeron, Krejci, Coyle, Nosek. See, even in Boston, like, where's he playing?
Yeah, I guess you'd
six somewhere. Right?
Yeah.
Unless, because I don't think he's replacing Krejci on the second line there.
Like, unless you completely dedicate yourself to like an all shithead fourth line of like Domi on the left of Nosek and Trent Frederick or something like that. You know what I mean? Like, Nick Foligno's having a resurgent season. Their top six is Marchand, Bergeron, DeBrusk, Hall, Krejci, Pasta. Like, where does he go?
Well, I guess you would have to see him as a bottom six option in Boston.
Mm-hmm.
But he's as an option for if someone gets hurt.
I guess the style of play, is he not a Boston Bruin?
Oh, it's he is. But again, where does he go?
Right. Fair enough.
Where does he go?
Fair enough.
You got to get the right situation for
him. Next question.
Mm-hmm.
Which question do I want to ask? If this is from Husky, if you guys were elected by the NHL Board of Governors to become the next commissioner of the National Hockey League, what's your first move as commissioner?
Leafs win the cup. Leafs win the cup. The Leafs are allowed to fly their prospects in and out on their own dime.
I think my first thing would be rearranging the playoffs. So your division leaders are 1, 2, 3 in the conference, and then the rest of it is seeded based on points. Or you just go back to point seeding. Then say, fuck it. If your division sucks, you didn't make it.
Try to do more baseball-like series.
Yeah, I like those 2 and 3 game sets. I did like that.
Implement a max time with like a big obnoxious buzzer for reviews, for video review. 180 like seconds. Done.
Jesse, what would you do?
The salary cap, I don't think is something that the owners would ever budge on. So like as the boss of the owners, I don't think I can switch them back to like a soft cap or no cap or anything like that. So I probably wouldn't bother. The playoff thing is very great. I think the reseeding 1 through 8 in the conference, like that's how it should be. I don't know why we have this 2 division thing and the fucking wild card spots. It's ridiculous. But I think I would get the rules committee to change overtime and the shootout. So I'd get rid of the shootout entirely. Fuck it. And then we go to overtime, 3-on-3, but it's until somebody scores and there's no offsides or icing.
I'm the commissioner and I can do whatever I want?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Fire Bill Daly.
Oh man, I would also I would want to take a look at. I love the way the NFL does their divisions, where they have smaller divisions and they play each other a little bit more, and they have 3 divisions on each side rather than just 2 in the conferences. I think the divisions, the way they are in the NHL, are too big. It's impossible to have a divisional rival with 7 other teams. And I like the idea of, if they want to develop regional rivalries, imagine Toronto, Ottawa, and Boston in a division, and how much those teams would just fucking hate each other at the end of the year.
That's the way it was for the first 30 years of our lives.
I know.
And then all of a sudden, what was it, 7 years ago, they switched to these divisions? And every other sport has 4 divisions or 3 divisions per conference. That's just how it is. And the NHL just refuses to do this thing that's working everywhere else and has worked in the NHL for 100 years.
They just feel like it's like the difference between the Titanic and a speedboat, right? They're just big lugging things when in actual, you imagine an all New York, New Jersey division and or something like that. And then a Philly, Florida division. So Tampa and Florida in the same division is the Flyers and Pens for no reason at all. It would be fun, right? There's lots of ways that you could do it that could make it a lot more fun and a lot more local. And the NHL is more of a local game anyway. So, it's a localized, that's where it does the best. It does best on a local level. That's the way to do it in my mind, but fuck, who's listening to me?
To refresh everybody's mind, in the 2004, the Northeast Division was the Bruins, Leafs, Sens, Canadian Sabres. The Atlantic Division was the Flyers, Devils, Islanders, Rangers, Penguins. Southeast was Lightnings, Jets. They were in the East. Hurricanes.
Because it was the Thrashers
Caps.
back then.
It was the Panthers. Yeah. All right, yeah, the Thrashers. Yeah. So it used to make a lot of sense.
Mm-hmm.
And then now we have these massive divisions.
It would be great. It would be great. All right, Jesse, one more question and then we'll wrap it up.
Last question. This is I think a fun one. Because I don't really know what the answer is. It's okay. Buckets. Oh yeah. How come teams with super skilled forwards don't get better at defense or goaltending naturally? You would think practicing against them would make them better in game. Hockey by osmosis.
Oh.
So basically, the Leafs have Matthews and Nylander and Marner and Tavares. Therefore, that should make every defenseman who plays for them Norris caliber.
It's just, if your goalie is facing shots by Austin Matthews, is he not going to get better because he's practicing against the highest level of shot? If you're Campbell and Stuart Skinner and you're practicing against Connor McDavid, or your defense is trying to stop rushes up the ice from Connor McDavid, you're practicing against the highest level possible. Would you not get a little better?
You would think.
I'm sure that happens. You got to think, if there's a guy who torches you every practice as a goalie, you got to think one of you has to initiate that conversation where you go, hey, you torch me every practice. Is there something you see that I'm doing that allows you to torch me? Or the other guy goes, hey, you have a tell. Like pitchers have a tell. Surely goalies have them. Surely shooters have them. And, you always hear these stories about this goalie just has this guy's number, or this guy just has this goalie's number. they must know something about that player. Like, you can't tell me based on career numbers, the Oilers don't have something on Markstrom that the rest of the league doesn't know. You know what I mean? Like, even last year, he was one of the best goalies and was completely pedestrian against that team every single time. One of the biggest statistical anomalies that I still can't explain is Henrik Lundqvist was one of the best goalies of his generation. Sub league average against the Leafs for the entire time that the Leafs were a bad non-playoff team. Does not make any sense. They must have known something the rest of the league didn't. Surely. That can't just be a fluke. For over a decade's worth of a Hall of Fame career, he was a below 900 goalie against one of the worst teams in the league. That doesn't make any sense. Surely one knows something about the other.
Yeah, there's probably like a coach who was there at the time, maybe a goalie coach, somebody who just knew some stuff about Lundqvist, maybe told the players, or there's a player on the team who had just his number and could fill it in, how to get to him. Like, I don't know. The theory kind of makes sense. I just don't know if that's how pro sports works.
Yeah. I mean, you definitely pick up things from people. But I also wonder, I know they're like, oh, go hard in practice, but are you really going as hard on your home goaltender if you're Connor McDavid? Like, are you destroying Stuart Skinner's confidence? You know what I mean?
Well, you should be, I guess.
Should you? I mean, that's the only goalie he's got left. Should he?
Well, like, if you should be practicing to make him better, I guess.
Yeah, no, you're right. Oh, that's an interesting one. I don't know. I'd love to ask a player about that.
Yeah, that would be. I think that's when we need an ex-NHLer on this podcast.
Every shot is directly into Jack Campbell's chest, and you go, "Oh, no,
you're so good
again."
Soupy, you're too talented.
Too talented, man. That contract was worth it.
But every time your goalie leaves the net, you got to go 120%. Take the puck off them and make sure they know they're not supposed to do that shit.
All right. Well, listen, we'll wrap it up there, guys. This is it. This is it for this year.
Forever.
Monday, not forever. Monday, Wednesday, Friday. Both of the next 2 weeks, you're going to get brand new episodes with a whole bunch of different things that Jesse's maniacal mind came up with.
Just that we all agreed on to do. I didn't force you to do anything.
We did, but there's some. Steve's not so sure about it. But we're very excited.
No, I think you guys should stop talking. Just get to the end.
We hope that you have.
You don't get that joke yet. You will.
Yeah, you don't, guys.
You will. We hope that you and your family have an amazing holiday season. Whatever you're celebrating, whoever you're celebrating with. Thank you so much for not only tuning into our show, but all the shows on SDPN over the course of the year. We love you, and we will see you in 2023.
The Steve Dangle Podcast.
Powered by Sports Interaction, Canada's sportsbook.
Follow the guys on Twitter at Steve_Dangle, at Adam WYLDE, and at Jesse Blake. Connection complete.